Welcome to the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach J.W. McKenna. Joining me are Coach Alicia Phillips and Coach Ann Sharkey. Together, we break down the 80-20 philosophy through the lens of real life. Our goal is simple, to help you fit the training into the chaos. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach J.W. and joining me at the table as always are Coaches Alicia and Ann. Today, we're going to talk about, let's start that again. I don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, it's our first redo.
That was so good. I'm just like,
just leave it in there.
No, we're taking that out. You guys have enough JW Canadianisms that you bug me about. I don't need another one. Here we go. Look at that. I can mark the clip.
Flutter those lips, relax your nerves. Woosah.
It's never going to be the
mark
same.
The clip again. Hold on. Welcome back to the Endurance Balance. I'm Coach JW. Joining me at the table, as always, are coaches Alicia and Ann. Your legs might feel fine, but why can't you sleep? Why is your heart rate spiked? Today, we're answering a listener question and doing a deep dive into the central nervous system. We're breaking down why physiological damage takes time to repair. You know, how a fried CNS sabotages your future training and how to actively reset your body post-race. All right. Before we get into that, though, the training logs. So let's open them up and we'll start with Coach Ann. What do you got for us on the training side?
I don't have a whole lot, to be honest with you. I have been back into strength training, couple days a week, like 3 days a week, just getting into a routine. I did help my daughter pack and move for a weekend, and she lived in a townhouse, so there were 2 flights of stairs, and my life anymore doesn't involve stairs anywhere. So I was up and down, moving boxes and things like that. So, well, I felt great, but my calves were screaming after like the second day. So there was a little bit of that, a little bit of recovery after moving. But yeah, strength training, I don't have. Oh, you know what I did do? I didn't even tell you guys this in our little pre-meeting. I signed up for something that's brand new to me. And I don't know. Have you heard of dragon boat racing?
Yeah.
Yes, I used to coach team.
You did?
I did.
Stop it. Okay. So I have heard about it. I actually have, some friends and athletes back in Kansas City that his mom did it. So, but whatever. So that's where I first heard about it. I had no idea what was going on. But we have this great Nathan Benderson park that's just south of us a little bit. And I'm not going to do it justice for what this has been built as, but it is a huge rowing complex that is used for a lot of like Olympic trials. Olympic open water swimming trials are held there. Mm-hmm. So it's this amazing venue. And they had posted on Facebook that they were offering it an 8-week intro to dragon boat racing. So I'm like, why not? I'm going to go do this. I'm going to learn. I'm going to figure it out and see what happens. So I start on Sunday. So
that's kind of cool.
I'll have an update on what that's like next podcast. So there's your
Coach Alicia with more surprises for us. Okay, so I'm probably going to get this wrong and people will probably be yelling at the podcast, but were you like, if you said you had a team, were you like the person that stands on the front of the boat yelling at them to row faster?
Or were you the drummer?
None of that.
Oh.
I literally, it was back in my times when I worked at Under Armour, and they came onto the gym on Tuesdays every night, every Tuesday, and I trained it because if you guys learn dragon boat, you are either on the right side or the left side, or there's that one person that guides you. So you're very imbalanced, and they would train at the gym. So I worked on like core, unilateral strength, keeping them
strength and conditioning.
Yeah, but then they took me out. They're like, then I got a slice of it and got to like experience It was the Baltimore Dragon Boat Club. It was incredible. I have mad respect for them. It's not easy. And
Oh,
All
that
right.
person is like everything. You need that
The,
coach
the one that's yelling at them.
and like
Really.
guiding them. It's like like in an orchestra, it's
the
oh my
conductor.
God. The conductor,
The
yes.
conductor at the front. Yeah.
It was such a hoot. That was such a fun, like, I'm just like, you saw how excited I got. That group, that community. I mean, it's just like so fun. That's so cool that you are going to become, what do they call you? Dragon
I don't
boaters? Like
a
a
dragon
dragon
boat lady?
boatee?
I
A
don't
dragon
know what I'm
boatee.
called.
Is
I
that
don't
going to
have a
get shortened
goatee.
and we drop the boat? Sorry.
Dragon
Can't
lady.
wait. You
Oh my
dragon
God.
lady.
Okay. So
I'm so excited for you. This is
I am actually excited too. I was
yeah.
like, you know
And
what?
rowing is so good for your
Yeah.
like cardio. It's such a good
Yeah.
sport.
I'm very excited, and it's Sunday. I picked Sunday at 5:00 just because of at work. I knew that I could make that one work, but yeah, I'm I'm excited. I think it concludes, like, I think you have 7 weeks, and then the 8th week, whatever. There's a race, so I don't
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm gonna be rowing a dragon
Well,
boat.
that's kind of cool, like
Yeah.
it's taking fitness or off seasons or non-racing like in different
Into
directions, and
sport.
yet, I mean, you're still gonna have to train for that, right?
Mhm.
And so, I mean, I was about to kind of ask you, it's like, how does your strength training look now, or how does any of your training look now that you're not training for something, but you do have something now? Like you've kind of,
I
I
do
call it
have
filling the void, right? Like,
Yeah, I do have something now. So I don't know what it's going to look like. Right now I've just been doing my basic, like, full body, upper body, and then legs, and like, so 3 days, and that's just how it's broken up. Nothing specific. I think I mentioned before, I do have some significant shoulder
mhm.
issues, and I'm worried now, like, do I pick the left side? It's the left shoulder. Maybe I need to pick the right side. So I don't know. I'll figure it out, and I'll see what it looks like on that after that first class on
So,
Sunday,
I
and
mean, and
then
I'll put you on the spot for your strength training. So, are you more hypertrophy? Are you power, strength, endurance? Like, what's your phase? So, I guess some listeners may know that as, are you at like 90% one rep max? Or are you more around the 60, 70%? Like, how are you structuring those?
I am very much just in back to it. So it's a very
Okay.
base phase. I've picked, honestly, I'm following the Peloton app that we talked about last time.
Okay.
And it's a 20-minute wait, but I'm going heavy. So
Okay.
I'm
So you're in
doing
the
much.
hypertrophy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm
Low
definitely
sets.
lifting heavier. In fact, leg day this week, I almost made myself throw up because I was like, I'm not, I hate leg day. And it was 20 minutes. I'm like, what just happened? Because I went heavier than I normally would, because I'm not running or anything right now. So
Right.
I felt like I could do that. And so uh, I don't know. I had no problem lifting some boxes and carrying that stuff up and downstairs. So we'll see if I can row a boat.
Any DOMs by chance? You're mentioning leg day. Did you have the DOMs or no?
Yes, I did. I
Okay. Now
definitely did.
follow that up with, did you foam roll after leg day?
Um, I did not that morning. The next day, I did. I did a
Next day,
lot of
but not right
stretching.
after the session?
No, I didn't have time.
Okay.
Which
I
I know I should, but
yeah. Well, we all know what we should do.
right. Yeah.
But it's interesting because that's kind of one of the first things I ask a lot of athletes. They say, "Oh yeah, you too hard at the gym. I had DOMs for like 3 days," and I'm like, "But did you see the final prescription I gave you?" And that was 5 minutes of foam rolling.
Yep.
Yeah, but I didn't have time. Or yeah, but I don't like foam rolling. And it's kind of like, but you like DOMs? Right? Like, and I'm not saying foam rolling will get rid of DOMs, but the foam rolling will definitely reduce your chance, right? And for those that are maybe kind of sitting there going, what is he talking about? The whole reason why I use foam rolling after heavy strength sessions or any strength sessions, long run, like anything, is to promote the blood flow,
Mm.
right? And so we want to sorry. Shh, she won't see me.
Yeah.
We want the whole length of the muscle. So we want from from the top to the bottom of the muscle, and nice and slow and easy. And what we're doing is we're just promoting blood flow. And then with that blood flow, we're bringing oxygen into the muscle. And then, of course, once we exchange the oxygen into the muscle, then we can take that lactate away. And I find, and the science is there to back it up, that if we can do that right after those sessions, your probability of DOMS, I believe, would be drastically reduced. So do your foam rolling, listeners.
So if it's blood flow, could we also get that from sauna or hot tub, just heat?
Yes, but that's going to be more full body, right? And so what I like about the foam rolling, because yes, I have athletes that after some sessions, they like to go 10 minutes in a sauna. Right?
Maybe we bring the foam roller into the sauna.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know. Lacrosse ball, foam roller, maybe your little handheld massager, I suppose. I just feel that, yes, those are all going to be great things if they help you, but I still think if we can target it, and if you can target it in the sauna, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
That's my training log.
Just throwing Coach Ann under the bus a little bit, but
she needs it.
They were messing with me earlier on the mic, so. Coach Alicia, is everybody there?
Go ahead, Alicia.
Okay, we're having too much fun.
Alicia.
Okay, a little update. I got in.
Who does the editing? I can just cut that right out.
What's in
I'm
JW's
officially
class?
training for this Hyrox. I got in. And I'm going to be, follow me on Instagram at Alicia's Fitness. Where I'm going to be, my goal is to just document my journey. So it's my first Hyrox. I'm doing the doubles with my sister the first week, and then the following week, because New York City's is 8 days long, I'm going to do it solo. So I feel like I'm going to get to kind of try it and then really go after it. And so, yeah, I'm started training, and I say start very humbly. I'm at very foundational. But I will say, and maybe you guys can relate to this, I've always, as a runner, I get plenty of endurance training, I get plenty of cardio in. So I like to kind of keep my strength training and my cardio separate. If I'm lifting, I'm lifting. If I'm doing strength training, doing strength training. But with Hyrox, it's conditioning. I am doing compromised runs, which is running lunges, running wall balls, running ski erg. It is straight conditioning, and it's just hard, and it's something that you got to train for. And that's just it. This is the specificity that I'm aiming for. Now there will be a lot of zone 2 runs, let's just say recovery runs. Not really a ton of real speed training. That'll kind of come in the conditioning workouts. But yeah, so that's where we're looking at. So I'm getting started. Got about 3 months to go.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
I only know Hyrox from what I've seen, short little clips on Instagram. I've Googled it, I think, the last time that you had mentioned it. So is the format always the same?
It is always the same.
Okay.
It is an 8K race. So there's 8 stations, if I believe that right. You run 1K, which is 1,000 meters, which is, it's a 1K.
We don't have to do math. JW understands.
And then I'm sure I'm going to screw the stations up a little bit, but you essentially, you row 1,000 meters, and then you run, and then you do lunges for a certain distance, and then you run. So it's lunges, 100 wall balls, burpee broad jumps, the ski erg for 1,000 meters, a sled push, a sled pull, and a farmer's carry. So that's just holding weighted kettlebells for a certain distance. And then in between each, you have to run. So with doubles, me and my sister and I, we will run together. We have to stay within a certain distance, I believe, with each other. And then the stations, we can split up. So I can do 500-meter row. She does 500-meter row. She could do 50 wall balls. I do 50. But you could break it up together. We got to get through the stations. So that's what I feel like you actually get recovery. In the solo, you're now just doing it all on your own. And then there's a pro division, which is the same but heavier weights. So it's the same run, but it's just heavier everything else.
So is the farmer's carry, does it get scaled, or is it like everybody's carrying the same weight?
Male and female. So males have a specific weight, females have but it doesn't matter about your age. It doesn't matter about how tall you are, how short you are. It's just men or women.
So some strategy on the doubles too, right? Like you've got to come up with a little bit of a game plan and strategize.
Yeah, and I still have my thoughts about it. Like I said, I'll share my whole experience on social media because it's two triathletes who created this race. So it's really fun to kind of look at the history of how this Hyrox even came about and its whole global sensation. I actually did the Hyrox certification, and it was a real eye opener having a global presence. I'll just say it, but as an American, I feel like all my certifications have come from American certifications. And I feel like I've been maybe spoiled, maybe selfish about it, but now I'm kind of seeing what are the Europeans doing? What are people in India doing, in China and Japan and Australia kind of coming together for this? And the race doesn't change. It's the same simulation, which is, again, my other thoughts of, can I just do this in my home gym? Do I have to go somewhere to prove myself? But that's what we do for a sprint triathlon or a 5K race, right? Or a marathon. Anybody can run 26.2 miles. Why do we pay all this money and go and do it in a race? So here we go. Yeah. JW, how about
you? Nothing outside of just foundational stuff and just, trying to do some self-care. I've got athletes that are kind of ramping up. I've got an athlete, so Dr. Ricky, he's running this Saturday for the Woodlands Marathon. Just a quick shout out for Dr. Ricky and his team. They had a family fun run on this past Saturday. And some of you may see in the social post for that one. If you haven't, just go over and at Ready Endurance and check it out. But the boy that won it, Jack, won the 2K race. He did so with one kidney, and he's a kidney cancer survivor.
Wow.
And so he went in with a goal. His goal was to beat Dr. Ricky, and he just smashed that goal out of the park and beat everybody. Right. So they got the big, huge shout out to Jack on that one, man. I mean, anytime anybody says to me or even myself, in the next little while, I'm just going to say, oh man, that's hard. I don't know if I can do that. It's just like, yeah, we can do hard things, right? Like just how bad do you want it? And I was even, sitting in karate today, watching Runa and Eirik, and Sensei Steve was, how do you get good? You have to put effort into it, right? You want results. Results come from effort. And so we just have to get that effort in there. And it really has to come down to, how bad do we want it, right? So I found that really, really cool. And again, huge shout out for them. But then we got, Dr. Ricky. He's, we're hoping, right? Not hoping. We've got the plan. He's got the work in for 3:05 for him on his marathon. And when he gets that, he'll have his, unless Boston moves it, he should have his BQ.
Nice.
Right. But it's, his main goal for this one was, if I can do hard things, if the kids can do it, I can do it kind of attitude towards it. And of course, just pushing those limits. And then, we've had some conversations around afterwards with some of the other athletes afterwards too. And this is always interesting. I always tie it back into not wasting the fitness you build. But when a lot of these athletes are done, we're asking them, what are you going to do when the marathon's over? You're just going to not train anymore and then wait till next year and then start again back at ground zero. Right. So, athletes who take time off, once we hit about that 6-week mark of not really training, you're considered deconditioned and we got to start all over again. Right. And so we've talked about that. The weekend after, I have an athlete, I think, doing an Olympic triathlete, I believe is the distance that they'll be doing. So I'm just working with athletes. We're working through a lot of,
I have a question.
yeah.
So you train most of your athletes for time, right? Or distance?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, do you set them go run a certain distance on their training plans, or
When they're
by
training?
time?
So Dr. Ricky, he is power.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jess is power. I have some athletes that are pace-based. But what's interesting is, and I just went through this with the race logistics, and for another athlete, was even though we've been training in power, race day we'll be using pace. Because pace is just far easier on race day to try to maintain than always be looking at your watch, let's say, for wattage and on your power.
But do you have them run for, say, go out and run for 2 hours, or to go out and run? How do you train an athlete?
To give you kind of like a peak week for Dr. Ricky, his foundation runs for 2 hours. And within that, zone 2. And in that zone 2, he has his wattage and he has his pace. Right. And then his long run, I believe his last long run a couple of weeks ago, I think it was 4 hours. Right.
So how were you able to narrow down 305? That's where I'm getting at.
305? With the training peaks and with all the data that I'm getting, it doesn't just track his wattage. In the back, as you know, it'll also track his pace for that run. It'll track heart rate. And, if you're using a stride, you can even get like even your cadence and everything else out of that. So while we're training him in wattage, I'm following the pace. And then so we can come down, and he did a half marathon a few weeks ago now. And that was kind of like the dry run to the one coming up on Saturday. And we went in again, we figured out the pace, and it was pretty much bang on, right? Like we wanted him in zone 2. We kept him in the zone 2, but just the pace that from all the numbers that we were able to grab out of that data, just from those other runs. And, and this is where I'll give all the coaches out there a plug. Yes, self-coach athletes, there are plenty out there that can do that, and they do it well and successfully. Most self-coached athletes, however, if you don't have a coach, you miss out on some of that knowledge and that experience and that race logistics and just figuring out those numbers for you. So, and that's kind of what I do for my athletes, is about their training in power. With Jess coming up, in 16 weeks, right? Or sorry, 20 weeks. 20 weeks when we get into Sinister 7, even though she's been training with power, we'll have an overall goal time for the race. We'll break it down to paces, but we're not breaking it down to live pace. Like your current now, what's your pace? It's going to be like, okay, for leg 1, we want you overall to be at, this XYZ pace. Right. But don't look at your watch necessarily in it. When you get to the TAs, we're going to say we want you as an average or the aid stations. We want you at this average when you get here. If you're not there yet, then we either need to pick it up. If you're ahead, slow it down, because we don't want to burn the candle at both ends, so to say, because you still got another, 12 hours out there.
Yeah. All that to say is there's a lot of good marketing out there. But I think if you wanted to just buy a plan that says, if you follow this plan, I will get you to a sub 3-hour marathon. I think if you just bought that, the likelihood is you would probably fail or get injured. So
yeah, which is unfortunate, right? Because there is a lot of athletes that are kind of doing that now, and then this is going to be another whole episode, I know, is let's get AI to make a plan.
Yeah.
And for those out there, if it's working for you, cool, right? But what the coach can do, though, is, what AI can't, at least not yet, is look at that. Are you overtraining? Are you fatigued? The other thing I look at is, even though I don't train with heart rate, I've mentioned it before, it will always be the check engine light. So if you go out and you're on a foundation run and I see your heart rate is spiked and it's on a fairly similar course that you've done before where it wasn't, I start to ask the questions are you sleeping? How is your sleep? Right? Is there something changed in your life? Is there work stress? Do you feel like you might be getting sick? And, depending on the answer that comes back from that, it might come down to, do you think we're overtraining? Do we need to give you a day off, or do we just need to dial things back for a few days?
Mhm.
And so the coach gets to see that for the athlete, whereas they're more focused in on the numbers. And like you say, they tend to burn out, unfortunately, I think. And I'm not sure about the both of you, but I typically don't write any more than a week ahead on a plan. Right. And
Mhm.
even then, there's always a caveat that it may change based on how some of those sessions are going.
I agree with you. I I prefer to only do a week out. I do have some athletes that want it further out because they have things that they have to kind of plan around, especially when I'm in Ironman distance,
Hmm.
or even marathon distance. But I will I will take when I have an athlete that has wants a race, I will upload kind of a template, like a basic my built basic plan, and then I'll hide everything, but then I'll adjust as we need to on the back end before I unhide it. So the plan is
Mm,
already there, but there are some athletes that need to see like a month in advance to plan for whatever. I'll unhide it, and with also the caveat of this is going to change, but
yeah.
the idea is this is about the time that you can commit to each of the three disciplines.
I totally agree. And that's kind of what
Yeah,
I tell them. It's just like Tuesdays is a speed day, or sorry, Mondays is your speed day. So plan a 45-minute to 50-minute speed session.
yeah,
Right. And if you're doing strength, you're going to have an hour strength that day. The specifics of the session, if they're not there, at least you know the time. Right.
Yeah,
And,
sometimes I'll lay out like a month ahead that long run, especially like for my marathoners,
yeah.
just so they can plan ahead on those. But otherwise,
mhm,
it's kind of known of like this day's your rest day for the most part. Yeah, same. You have a speed day, a threshold day, easy day, and then, but obviously everything's a little specific to them and the
Yeah.
weather or the nature of the things. Lately, and over here, it's been a little very cold and snowy and. We've been doing a lot more bike sessions, having to just,
Yeah,
fill in
treadmills
the
and
blanks.
bikes. Yeah, we got like maybe just under a foot, I think, of that storm where I think you said you guys got about just under 2 feet.
Yeah.
So it's still winter
Mhm.
for us, so it's to be
Yep.
expected, right? Like if the snow wasn't there. The only thing I'll end off with is I want to just kind of throw out some good vibes. Runa will be testing in karate on. So this will come out Friday. She'll be testing on Saturday for her either orange or depending on how well she does, she'll do orange or orange with black stripe
Nice.
for her karate. So it's her first testing as an adult, as we call it in karate, right? Because anything from 10 and above, at least at the dojo she's at, I don't know if that's all karate. I won't pretend to know, but I know for her, she's now graded differently as an adult. But so she's got that going on. But it kind of ties back into all the training that we do, and we mentioned, if earlier on, is whether it's dragon boat racing or if it's Hyrox or if it's the karate we fundamentally when we're training, I mean, you still have to practice, right? You still have to practice what you're doing. It needs to be pretty specific of what you're doing. And if you want the results, you got to put in the effort. And I'm working with her right now. Yes, she's 10, just turned 10, right? But we're working mental work. Right. And so for her, it's the self-efficacy. What do I visualize? I'm going to be great at this. And she's doing the visualizations. And I think that helps athletes in any sport that you're doing. So, when you're training, think about those kinds of things. When you're into your taper weeks, that's a big part of what I do with my coaching, is making sure that they get all that. And so, just kind of tying off that, coach versus AI and everything else. If you're on the fence, definitely. I mean, a coach can help you. I mean, I'll throw the plug out there. I believe all three of us have room on the rosters.
Yep.
Yeah. So just throw it out there. Cool. Anything else on the training side? I mean, That's a lot. That's good. Just, I mean, I'm really looking forward to following both of you on your adventures.
Adventures. Yeah. Here are a couple of triathletes going in a different direction.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be
Ah.
very, very interesting. Cool. I know we have at least one listener because we have a question. This came in, right? This came in from Bron, and she had a question, and I loved it. So when Alicia said, "Hey, I got this question. What do you guys think? Should we do something on an episode on it?" And I'm like, "Yes, absolutely. I love it." And we all agreed pretty quick on it. And so Bron wrote to us, "Hello, can you guys do an episode on the Endurance Balance podcast about the nervous system resets after a race and how it impacts your training, etc." She has been doing some reading about it, and her mind is blown. Right? Never paid attention to these things. Love the podcast and would love some more insight if you have it in you. Yes, we will always have something to say. So, yes, there is so much that goes on after a race, during a race, after a race. Like we get so focused, and we were just talking about it for, the last 25 minutes about how do we prepare for these events? What's our logistics for race day and, fueling and hydration and pace plans and everything else. But I think sometimes we lose sight of what's the, what's happening? What's the impact to the human body on that, right? And on the inside, on the physiological level, we're really doing damage on the inside. And there's different levels of that damage, right? So we're going to have the muscular, and what Bron is, kind of referring back to now is going to be the nervous systems. And so we're going to talk about that heart rate variability. And a couple of podcasts ago, or episodes ago, sorry, I talk about those three markers. I have three things that after, so when my athlete has done this marathon, when they're done their 70.3s and their Olympics and ultras and everything else, minimum 3 days afterwards, I prescribe a 1 hour walk. Right. And everybody's like, okay, well, if you think I need it, but I'm probably, I'm a veteran, I'm an elite, I'm in the, whatever, go do three days of 1 hour walk. And then when they come back to me and I say, okay, and if they're ultras, it's going to be longer, right? If it's an Ironman, a 70.3, it will probably be minimum 5 days of walking before we even start talking about return to training. And those, if anybody forgotten, those three questions that I always talk to them about, or those three markers, is your sleep back? Is your hydration back? And is your nutrition back? And I think what we're going to talk today is going to expand on why I asked some of those. So Coach Alicia, where would you like to start? How
Yeah.
do you deal with your athletes on, the CNS and everything else that's going on and the repairs and the damage?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even have to be after a race. It could be in training. It could be, I mean, think about, for some, maybe not for always. For me, I actually get excited going to the doctors because I'm like, ooh, I get to get blood work. That's so. Some people like the thought of going to the doctor works them up. Like think about, or if you're having a job interview, you get super nervous, your heart rate goes up, you start sweating, or public speaking is another one. You're just standing there technically, but your mind is racing, your heart, your body is doing things that are stressful. Let's just, so I always take in physical stress, life stress, internal and external factors can all play a role in everything. But listening to those cues. So whether it's through breath work, through music, like calming music, proper sleep habits, having all of those foam rolling, sitting in the sauna, things that can calm you down to unwind you, those rituals, I guess you can call them, that whether it's like after a race or after an easy run or after a training thing, those habits are still instilled. So it's like, okay, now I'm going to stretch. And while I'm stretching, I'm going to focusing on breathing. For me, one of my like kind of favorite down workouts, like when I'm not training per se, I love going to like hot yoga. And when they go back to the breath, about just like you could be in a holding position and just breathing in through your nose and out through your nose, and how much just that in itself can reset you. It's pretty powerful actually when you think about it. Um and then but can you use that in the moment when it's really hard? So if you're climbing a really, or you're in a really hard interval, can you go back to your breath or your form? A lot of times I'll talk to myself. I'm like, okay, relax the shoulders, drive the knees. I'll say things out loud. I flutter my lips.
Flutter your lips.
You know? Um, yeah.
True story.
But let's try to like actually give Bron some take homes. So, and do you have any? How about you? What would you say? What are your thoughts? And then JW will go back and actually give you some good.
Yeah, I
give
got
us
some
the
geeky stuff
science.
here for you. Oh yeah.
Yeah, massage. There's so many fun things to kind of really break into it. So I feel like I'm. Go ahead, Anne.
I think there's, after, if I just look strictly at after a race, what is the impact of that event? It doesn't matter if it's a sprint, triathlon, a 5K, whatever. You've put your body under stress. Your body's gone under stress from all of the training. Stress is stress. That's one of my favorite sayings. Like, I don't care if it's training or life. Stress is stress. So, for me, I have seen, especially when I have my longer distance triathletes or marathon runners, 70.3 marathon, I see more of an increase of like that post race kind of depression. And I think it's actually, I think that I've heard several terms like the marathon blues or the post marathon blues. Um, they're because we've created such a structured regimen and we've been told what to do for, I don't know, 18 weeks, whatever it looks like. And you've had a plan, you've had a goal, and then all of the sudden, like the biggest thing of an endurance event, Ironman, whatever the distance is getting there. Like that's the hard work. The race is the celebration. So now you've done all of the hard work. Your family has put up with you. You've put your body under this months and weeks of stress. And you've gotten through successfully and healthy. And then on the backside, you're like, okay, now what? Now what am I going to do? For like, there's a little bit of relief that now you've got somewhat of maybe your life back. You can go out with your friends on Friday night because you don't have a Saturday morning workout. You can be back with at the kids' soccer games and watching. You're not trying to fit all of these pieces in, but at the same time, like you're losing a part of like what you've done for so long. So then your body also, so mentally you're feeling that your body's also resetting. Your body's resetting in a way like now we've got increased inflammation, of course, from the stress. We've got to rebalance hormone levels. We've got to get the cortisol under control. We have to get all of those fun things back under control. There is there an easy way to do it? Not. It's time, it's patience. It's I can tell, yes, yoga is one of my favorite things. If you need something to do, if you just need something to create the habit, I will put in a walk, usually at least the week after an event. I don't put anything in. My athletes then at that point know, like, I leave it completely up to them. Get up, go for a walk, don't sit around. A lot of times there's travel back home involved. So they may spend a week at the race, or like a day or so at the race site on the backside. Sometimes they plan a vacation on the backside. And then I'm like, yes, swim, go for a ride or on a beach cruiser if you want to. But you have to give your body that chance to to reset both mentally and physically. I don't know if that helps. That was a lot of
No, yeah,
to-
I mean, it makes total sense, right? Like I like to put the runs in, or the walk, sorry, in after the event, and just because it does, I want, like, to me it's non-negotiable. It's they have
yeah.
to do it, And some of the science that we're going to explain here in a second supports that, that walk, that swim, that whatever just needs to be done. It's just anybody can walk. I mean, if you can go run an Ironman, if you can go run a marathon, you can get up and go for a walk the next day. Right. And it's almost like you have to get up and do it. And what Bron is kind of referring to is that it's the neurological or the CNS, right? So the central nervous system is in there. And we're going to talk about the fight or flight or the rest and digest here in a second. And again, this is coming right down into the, the data, the geeky, the science side of it. But what we tend to focus on most is the peripheral side of the event and the damage that's happening. So the muscle, is the muscles repaired? Can I walk upstairs again? Right. We've seen all the social media posts where, can't get out of the car, just ran a marathon. Right. I can't walk up the front steps. I just ran a marathon.
Use the handicap stall.
What's that?
Use the handicap stall in the bathroom. Yes.
Right.
I'm telling you,
right?
It's a fact.
And it's crazy. And it's, and when I bring just a side note is that when I bring a client on and we decide what their goal is and what they're training for, I tell them one of the big goals that I have is that when you finish that event and you're texting me, you're calling me, or you're doing your video call, it is like that. I want to hear them say, that was an awesome race. That was one of my best races. That was so cool. Like whatever it is, that so positive when they're done, as opposed to what I hear a lot of, and I hear this actually a lot in the ultra like last few years. Didn't hear so much last year, but there was a couple of years there where I was hearing a lot of just like, "Wow, that sucked. Oh, I barely survived that." And it's not just in ultra, but I just tend to hear it more there because I was kind of more around it more. And to me, it's just like, no, that's not what the whole training should be about. Like, it shouldn't be that I survived that. That sucked. I never want to do that again. But 2 days later, I'm signing up again. I'm in race roster doing whatever. It's got to be, man, that was so awesome. I want to do that again. I want to beat a better time. I want to whatever. So going back, sorry, to the science of the CNS or the CNS, the central nervous system fatigue, is that it is very real, right? And so you think about, what's an average Ironman time?
Oh, I say 15 hours. 15
hours.
hours.
Perfect,
Yeah.
right? I was going to throw that out there, but 15 hours.
Yep.
Think about you as an athlete. You are out there for 15 hours. Your body is in like ultimate max mode. Like, how far can I push this to the max before it shuts down? And a lot of in the central nervous system, really, I'll bring it back to trail running. It just thinks for 15 hours, there's been a bear chasing you, right? Go back to the kind of the caveman days, if you want to call it. And there's some big mean animal that wants to eat you, has been chasing you for 15 hours. And that's why you've been running or put the body through that stress for 15 hours. So the central nervous system goes into that whole fight or flight mode, right? So we're releasing that cortisol, we're releasing all these other effects in, the brain is, shunting, again, we're shunting away blood flow from like digestion so that the muscles have oxygen so it can keep running away from the danger. And it's really kind of, if you want to bring it into like just a really basic term, is that 15 hours you've been running from danger. And what we kind of got to do with that central nervous system is that we need to say, we're not in fight or flight anymore. We're in rest or digest. You can calm down. I am not trying to kill you anymore. And that's another way to look at it, is the body thinks that me, JW, as a person for the last 15 hours or 10 hours on the course in an ultra or 30 hours, it thinks that you've been trying to kill it. And so it goes into that self-preservation mode. And so this is where you're getting a lot of that central nervous system fatigue. And if we're in the fight or flight, digestion, as I already mentioned, is compromised because we're taking the blood away and we're giving it to the muscles so that again, this is where the muscle often repairs faster than the rest because it's still shunting that blood away and still giving the oxygen to the muscles to repair. But now you can't digest anything because the blood's not there to help you digest. So that's my question. are you eating properly again? Because if you're not eating properly again, then we're still in that fight or flight mode. We're not in that rest or digest. That's kind of one way that I explain it. And then even with the nerves, we get into the myelin sheath, right? And so when where was my note on that one? When we're in that one, the myelin sheath ends up being, stressed as well during exercise. And basically with that, I'll find the note on it. It's with the myelin sheath though, and the effects that the endurance event has on it, those signals back and forth from the brain to the muscles are also slowed right down. Right. And so that's why we can also slow down the physical and the neurological repair, as we call it, after an event. So even kind of coming back into, are we sleeping properly again? Right. Because, again, as all our cortisol levels up and the
Well, yeah,
melatonin.
think about the last race you did. You probably maybe took some caffeine gels or any kind of caffeine that obviously upped
Mhm.
everything, got you going through.
Yep.
But think about when you finished the race. Were you like, give me all the food? I don't know about you. When I finished my marathon and they had this amazing buffet of like cookies and bananas and pizza, and I like the thought of like eating, I was like, get me out of here. But that's
Yes.
probably the worst thing that you can do, right? I mean, as much
Correct.
as, but your body is like literally wanting to reject all things, which is again another sign of stress. So something we can do with our nervous system is just try to down regulate it. So get fluids in, get carbs in, tell your body that you're safe, right? Walk. Okay. The last thing you want to
Yes.
do is just like crash. We want to still move, get the blood flowing so it can now rest and repair. It's not in fight or flight, just like JW said. And breathe. Like literally just open up the lungs, exhale. Like,
Yeah, like get some yoga in there, and I
mhm.
guess really where I was kind of going with the compromisation to the myelin sheath on the nerves and this that pathway back and forth from the brain to the spine to the brain is a lot of athletes after the events, because again that's another marker that and those pathways aren't fully repaired yet, so it's taking longer for your brain to say, hey, you're about to trip on that root, pick up your feet. Right. And so then we kind of trip on the root, so you may be seeing some of that. But like you're saying, I mean, like meditation, yoga, it's just trying to breath work, just sitting there and just doing some breath work. Most of the Garmin Forerunners, I think, have some built-in apps now with the watches, if you've got a newer one, that will do that. But really what it is by doing, as Coach Ann and Alicia are saying, is when we're doing these things, we're telling, okay, we, parasympathetic, we can go back into the rest and digest. So here's why: I'm going for a nice walk. I'm not running from that bear again. We're going nice and slow. And we're just trying to tell really that nervous system that the threat is gone. And so I think you can speed that up, but some of it just takes time to do it. What is it? The things that I was reading. So on average, for you to bring your CNS, easy for me to say, the CNS, the central nervous system fatigue, because that's what it is that fatigue, that the system firing like that for so long on a marathon can be anywhere from 10 to 14 days. Right. Now you can probably, again, depends. There'll always be the caveat. It depends on the athlete. Some may
Mhm.
go sooner, some may go faster, but it's also gonna, I'll bring it back to sleep. My other question: are you sleeping properly? Yeah, no, I'm not falling asleep till 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm up at 8. You're missing that free fitness window, right? That 8 to 2. So you're missing that growth hormone that's going to help repair all of this. And you're not kind of sleeping properly. So again, the systems will take longer to clear. And on a 100-miler, it could be up to 30 days, depending on the effort and the type of event that you're doing. Right. And so, I mean, we could probably go forever on some of the science, but Bron, I hope this kind of throws a little bit more at you, that there is a lot on the nervous system. There's a lot of tax that goes on it. Alicia, you were mentioning the caffeine. We're pumping that all up. The cortisol is another one that we got to try to. Okay, yeah, the cortisol. What does that do? It amps us up. It makes us angry. It makes us go. We're releasing epinephrine so that we can self-preserve, self keep ourselves alive.
Words are so hard today.
They are. They are. It
So
must be
I
the whole
will,
mic not working thing.
right. I will also throw this out there too. So as we get older and somebody who is very quickly approaching 56, cortisol and not sleeping well have that's an everyday occurrence, race or not. Like
Mhm.
at this point in life, menopausal, postmenopausal, whatever, like nobody at this age is sleeping well, and we're all in this high cortisol like stress area. So that also throws a different layer into the central nervous system, the recovery after a race, what that feels like, what that looks like. So, um, even though those are still parameters that we can look at, my athletes in particular, I can't base it just solely off of that. So that's where I need an athlete to really dig deep and be honest with me on how they're
Yes.
feeling, right? Like I can look at all the data in the world, but the reality is most 99% of my athletes are not local. I don't see them every day. I have in the past. They were athletes that I was coaching in person. So I know them better, but if I pick up a brand new athlete, which I have, and I don't have that face-to-face interaction with them, I have to really rely on what they're telling me, and they've
Mhm.
got to be honest with me. So that
Absolutely.
little RPE or that little happy face at the bottom of Training Peaks is amazing, but also like be honest with that frowny face. And it's
Yeah.
okay. It's absolutely okay to have a frowny face. I don't want to see middle of the road smiley face every day because that's not reality either.
No.
If I consistently see that, there's also something else going on, and I will like, no, that's not true. So that being said, that it's not it's very individualized. It's very age matters, unfortunately. And yeah, it's different for every athlete. So Bron is this was an excellent question, and I'm glad that we got a chance to chat about this. Um and you can read all of the science and the neurological, the rebuilding of the pathway and all of that is standard. Like your body's going to, I don't know what's happening. Your body is going to, those things are pretty basic, but it goes so much deeper than that. So you can read so much, but really it comes back to you personally and how you're feeling and how your own body adapts to stress.
Yeah, we gotta have the athletes dial it back. You as the athlete have to dial it back. And absolutely, I 1,000% agree, Coach Ann, is that they have to be honest. And I do actually say this, and this is not that I don't believe you, but I'm going to say it anyways, is that when I ask you these three questions, you have to be honest with me, because this is really your longevity in sport that's really on the line, how you answer this and how quickly we come back. Um, just a couple other things that, because it'll tie into the homework that we're going to assign our listeners, is another way that we can kind of come back. And I wanted to also, don't let me forget, is I want to touch on the eating a little bit more when you mentioned about, the after race day stuff, or after the race. But you can look at your heart rate variability, right? And so you're looking and during all your training, yes, it's going to be slightly different after you're done the event if you're not training, but for the few days afterwards, what's that heart rate variability like? Is it very low? Right. And so have a look at that, but probably more so, I'd like to look at resting heart rate,
Mm.
right? Because again, if we are in that fight or flight phase or mode, our resting heart rate will also be elevated, because the body's got to be ready to go at any second because we're in fight or flight. And so the kind of the marker that I will use is anywhere from 5 to 10 beats more on average per minute. And if your resting heart rate is still elevated by that much, you on a the neurological or the central nervous system fatigue, you're not ready to come back yet. Right? We need to bring all that back in line. So have a look at that, and again, we'll tie into the homework afterwards. But so there's a lot of things, and again, I'll tie it back. Unfortunately, a lot of self-coached athletes miss the post-race stuff. And then I hear some of these athletes just say, I really don't have a desire to do that again, because maybe the recovery part wasn't great and left a great feeling potentially that way. But yeah,
or they didn't have the race they wanted because of other factors as well.
For
I'll
sure.
also add on to that is just also like take a note of your mood and your motivation. Like, are you still excited about your training? Are you motivated to keep going, or do you kind of just want to hang out on the couch and be with your feelings? And then that also goes into your workouts. Are your workouts feeling sluggish, or are you overly wired during your workouts? So those are, again, some more key things to just listen to, follow, take note of.
Absolutely.
Dehydration obviously can play a factor in like your elevated heart rate, and that's another thing where I think carbs can really come in. I always say to my athletes, if you're finishing your workouts and you just have that like headache and you just want to sleep, sometimes it's okay, but for the most part, that's a sign of something's not right. Whether
Correct,
you are underfueled, underhydrated, under-recovered.
Yeah, absolutely right. Like, and definitely, and we got to be careful too, is that you don't want to overhydrate after a race feeling that way too. I'll always go back to, and I've always said this, is that generally, on average, the body can process about 1 liter per hour of water. Again, everybody's going to be different, but if you view it as you can only process 1 liter per hour, drinking 3 liters right after a race because you're so thirsty, it's not going to work. You're going to overhydrate, and you're going to have a whole bunch of other problems with that one. So just making sure you have a great hydration plan. And please, if you drink to thirst, right? I know a lot of coaches in the past have done this. I've had coaches in the past that do this and say, just when you get thirsty, drink. There's enough science out there that tells us now that you can be 10 or 15% dehydrated by the time you feel thirsty.
So my other big platform that I preach all the time is that water itself is not hydrating. Yes. So that was actually, it was a conversation in our office today, as weird as that is. But water itself is not hydrating. So when you're strictly drinking water, you're diluting what you're putting into your body for fuel. You've got to have something else in it, some sort of electrolytes. Even your bottle of water on your desk, if you just put even a pinch of salt in there, or have a banana or like a salty snack with it, that helps with the hydration. So that is another episode that we will actually tie into next week's episode with
follow up on that one for sure.
Absolutely.
But it's interesting because I just had a WhatsApp group question on that and say, like, how do we hydrate for the race? And I said, like, first of all, in race week, please don't change anything, right? Like, what you've got set is what you got set. So don't change it. I said, however, and this is because it ties back to a lot of episodes or previous episodes that we've done, is I'll go back to the blood work. So I do BioSteel. Like, that's no secret. We use BioSteel in our training for hydrating. And I do 1 scoop a day. So I use it even as maintenance.
Yeah.
But using it in maintenance through the blood work that I've gotten once or twice a year, it supports that. It's replacing what I need. And really, that's what Coach Ann is trying to tell everybody, is that put something in there, because, like, you need the sodium, you need all those electrolytes to get back. And of course, having 3 or 4 different ones, like, you need the magnesium, you need this, like, so there's all different parts to it, really. And it is another full episode, but it is something that I do as a maintenance. It's been verified or confirmed through the blood work that we've done. That is a good strategy to have. But you do need the clean and the electrolyted water. right? And so again, you just need to be able to balance the two. But I do think I agree, and is that it is absolutely paramount afterwards that you make sure you bring those up. And what you're saying, Alicia, if you have the headache, you're probably underhydrated. You probably need to get some stuff back. And when I was running as a first responder and we're running medicals or something like that, and if it was hot and it was a sports related event, oftentimes it's like yes, I don't necessarily agree with the commercial sports drinks, but it's better than nothing. And we get one of those off the rig and we give it to them and just say, here, drink this. And all of a sudden you can kind of just see the flushness go away a little bit, and they're the headache's going and their alertness comes back. So there's got to take care of ourselves out there. So anything else you want to add? And I know before we started the show, Alicia, you had a question about stacking A races and central nervous system and everything. Did you guys want to touch on that for a few minutes, or do you want to save that
for another episode? We're already at an hour. It's up to you guys. Doesn't take long.
Does not. I think we could probably save that for maybe a follow-up, like you say, if we get into what you should be doing for electrolytes and stuff like that. Any other thoughts on, the other note, I guess, that I had, if you're thinking about any other things that you want to follow up on, is, and I touched on it already, is the sleep, right? The sleep is, you need it, right? And again, when you sleep is going to be important as well. We've established that. But really, the sleep is the ultimate weapon, as we kind of call it, is that I'm probably going to, if I try to explain it, I'll probably get it wrong, but it's the HPA axis, right? So when we sleep, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis is what it is. It recalibrates. And so when we're sleeping, this also helps with the CNS and recalibrating that. And so a lot of these systems are going to be intertwined. And so for the smart people out there like Dr. Ricky, please let me know if I said that wrong.
Yeah, think like a newborn. How much does a newborn sleep? Because its system is working in overdrive to grow and build.
Oh, absolutely.
You would never let a baby sleep for 1 hour a day or 7 hours a day, right? They need 20 hours a day, essentially. Like it's, and it's so.
It's funny. I learned something about, and this is kind of the same thing that you're talking about newborns. And with my job now, I have brand new puppies. And I learned, this makes so much sense, that when the puppies are sleeping, you know how they kind of twitch? That's actually like their little growth spurt and their little neurons firing. And that's what they're like, everything's firing and they're growing and they're learning. So much like a human, you're retaining all of that. The little puppies are too, and it's super cute.
Yep.
I'll end too. I think one of the biggest mistakes we as athletes, as human beings, we return to running based on our legs feeling good instead of our mental readiness. So, and I think I'll come back to that. I'll also agree. I think it comes down to like having a proper sleep rhythm, like just reestablishing quality sleep. Yeah.
Definitely. Return to training, return to sport after a big event, whether it's your 5K or it's your full Ironman. They're all big to us based on the training that we put into and what we're getting out of it. You have to have that physical, that mental. The mental is a huge one as well. And of course, like, the central nervous system, physiological and everything else to go with it. And, you mentioned, so even if we go 14 days after a marathon or 10 days after a marathon, and now we want to try to run again, I will come back to the athlete and say, on that zone 2 foundation run, what was your RPE? If it's a 7 or higher, you're not ready to come back. And again, this is, Coach Ant, this is where they have to be honest.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Be honest on what it is. But if you're, for an example, you're running a 10-minute mile pace, right? And if that's, your zone 2, but you are a 7 or 8 in there, you may not be ready. Again, it's going to be, that pace is going to be based on the individual, but you have to come back and say, okay, I'm running my first foundation run on the way back, nice, easy into it. And if I'm that 7 or 8 on something before was a 1 or 2, you're not ready.
Yeah. Do you have homework for the listeners?
Yeah, we're going to have some homework for the listeners. So we talked about you can't rush the prepare process. I think we got that, right? Like, so Bron, yes, we have some information for you on our thoughts and how we want to repair, right? Your body really at the end of the day is going to keep the score. And no matter how much or how hard we want to come back, if we have those stack day races where we only have 3 weeks or 2 months in between, we still have to respect the body, right? So your homework basically for the listeners is going to be audit your sleep and your resting heart rate. Get a good understanding of what it is. Yes, I know everybody's like, okay, what's my resting heart rate? Yeah, I got it. It's elevated and everything else. But I want everybody, this week, I guess next week after they listen to this on Friday, start thinking about what is it actually? What is my resting, right? And you're resting when you wake. I take my resting heart rate, the true one that I believe is when I wake up in the morning. That is, I've been laying down, the body is totally at ease, right? Like I'm not sitting up and doing a resting heart rate, because that will be different than if we're lying down taking a resting heart rate, all the other things, but be consistent in what you pick. So whenever I'm going to use, hey, what's your resting heart rate? That is what mine is at 6 o'clock in the morning, every morning when I wake up. I'll look at the Garmin or whatever and just say, okay, what do you tell me is that number? And that's the kind of the one I want to go by. But I want the listeners now to start thinking about what is that actual number. And what your sleep is like. Have a look. When am I going to sleep? What am I doing? What's my sleep ritual? Kind of, what do I do before? Is it answering emails like crazy before work? And am I just sitting down and writing my to-do list? Am I doing some relaxing yoga? Whatever your routine is, and you're going to notice that I can almost guarantee is going to have an impact on your resting heart rate when you sleep. So start auditing your sleep, start auditing your resting heart rate, and then you'll actually know when you are in that rest and digest. So that when you go do, as Coach Alicia was mentioning, even if it's just your long run, a hard session, your speed work, and then in the morning, you notice that resting heart rate is really above, maybe that day you just take it easy. Say, hey, coach, I'm still, my HRV is not there. My resting heart rate's up. Maybe that session I went too hard is okay if I take today and run walk, right? Or whatever it is. And so audit that, have a look at it. Love for everybody to drop into the comments, DM us, let us know what yours is. But if you don't do that, at least do it. Any questions like Bron had sent over, send them over. You can find us on the Instagram. There'll be links in the show notes here. I think I'm going to put in a poll for this episode too. So go check the show notes and see what the poll is, and we'll ask you. Maybe that's where I'll put. That's where you can let us know. Are you auditing your sleep in your resting heart rate, and are you kind of in tune with it? But really tell us in the comments what your body is telling you when you're in your training cycles. I'm Coach JW. Respect the nervous system, right? Do the reset and fit the training into the chaos, and we'll see you on the trails.
You're amazing.
Sleep tight.
That's a wrap for this week on the Endurance Balance. If you enjoyed the conversation, do us a huge favor. Hit that follow or subscribe button on your podcast app right now. It's the best way to support the show. And hey, we want to see your chaos. So come find us on Instagram at The Endurance Balance and drop us a DM. For Coach Alicia and Coach Ann, I'm Coach JW. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the trails.